My dear people of Southern Cameroons, my very brave, strong, courageous, and religious Amazonians, accept revolutionary greetings from me, Comrade John Ba Akuro. Today is day number 4 in the month of October in the year 2021. And this is just 3 days after October 1, that is our Independence Day. I'd like to use this opportunity to continue to say Happy Independence Day to all and sundry. We have to continue talking about this day for days on end, because this day is a singular day in the history of the people of the Southern Cameroons. And I'm going to come up with an elaborate discussion to remind our people of some salient moments in the history of the people of the Southern Cameroons that will help us understand why we are here today. That will help us understand how we got here today. And that will help us understand why we need to work together. My people, the world is beginning to talk. The international community is beginning to make the situation in Southern Cameroons a priority. At least the United States of America has determined, and this was determined on October 1, it might have gone without people seeing, to make the situation in the Southern Cameroons a foreign policy priority. This has not happened in the course of the past 5 years. This is something we don't have to brag about. It is something we have to work very hard to consolidate. That is why you hear me say here that the world speaks and synergy is a must. I will come back here over the weekend and I'll be inaugurating a new program that will go on every Saturday to talk about some very key moments in the history of the Southern Cameroons in relation to La République du Cameroun and the coup d'etat against our freedom at the United Nations. This is something France, the United Kingdom, and La République du Cameroun and some greedy elite of the Southern Cameroons concocted together to hide from us. Because they say, if you know the truth, that truth will set you free. I like to remind the people, when I was working at CRTV, I had a clip that I use so often during Cameroon This Morning, a new slot I was presenting on the national station. You listen to that clip, you hear a number of people say a good number of things. Among them was a late Simon Quenti, who said, I was very embarrassed the other day. I heard an elder of the Presbyterian Church saying the CPDM is the way, the truth, and the life, meaning is Jesus Christ. Just before he says that, you hear Mr. John Buganande, who was then section president of the CPDM for Santa and Director General of Mideno, saying the CPDM is the way, the truth, and the life for the Santa people. But the most important clip came after that. There were two. Somebody saying, keep on telling lies to Cameroonians. And another one retorts by saying, if you tell them the truth, they will fight. Listen, he says, if you tell them the truth, they will fight. I tried to see if I could get into my old collections to get some of these clips that I recorded. Unfortunately, because of the way I was haunted out of Cameroon, I wasn't able to come away with anything. Even the documentaries and everything that I produced, I was unable to get hold of them. I didn't have this, but I still have them at the back of my mind. My people, this communication today is too important. Too important because what you're going to hear, what you're going to see, should guide you to understand that we have been fighting for almost 5 years to have international attention. Today, that international attention is coming our way. Today, the global community is beginning to come to the realization that the situation in the Southern Cameroons need to be addressed from the root cause, and recognizing that our predicament is rooted in the colonial era. and the way the decolonization of the southern Cameroons was conducted. And my people, this is the time more than ever before that we need to do one mighty thing, one great thing. We have to stop sugarcoating anything. We have to stop it. This is a time where the naked truth has to be put on the table. And we have to call out anyone who is standing in a way of building synergy. Because, my people, unknown to a lot of us, our fate was not only sealed by Mr. Ahidjo, France, and the United Kingdom, but they did that in connivance and in collaboration with the people of La République du Cameroon. They brought up their children, training them, educating them to the effect that you were born lots, and like Egyptians, you were handed some slaves, and we became like the Israelites in their eyes, and then they have to do everything possible by all means to keep us in slavery and servitude. That is why, even today, whatever the circumstances, you hear people like Kenya, like Charlie Kenya. You hear people like Charlie Kenya talk on Afrique Media. I hear he was also on Equinox. I hear he was also on STV, saying the same thing. That the only thing that needs to happen to the people of the southern Cameroon is that we need to be annihilated, conquered at war, subdued. And at the same time, it is also what Eric Mathias Owonangini, the son of Joseph Owona, who not only said, and it is on the cover page of Le Messager of that year, I'm going to get it and bring it here, said, un bamileke tout dit jamais. That was after they had said that, as they were calling us, an Anglophone, no, anathema, that we were born subordinates, born third-grade citizens, and nobody should ever think of elevating us. But the only other thing is that while we are supposed to be slaves, they have that third class. They have another second class called the Bamileke people, who should never go closer to a 2D. The issue of the Bamileke people is not any of our concern. But the crux of the matter today, my dear people of the southern Cameroons, is that at this point in time, we either come to the realization that we are caught up in an existential struggle, a struggle about our very existence, or we allow ourselves to be crushed. If we recognize this, we will come to the understanding that we will not keep begging people to collaborate, to come together and work together. That we will not keep going by their whims and caprices. That there comes a time when we rise up and tell those who want to take our struggle hostage to understand that just like there is no room for La République du Cameroon on our territory, there will also be no room for any of them. I don't care whoever they are. That time is coming. That time has come. And that time is now. We don't have to wait anymore. My people, this communication is full, it's loaded, it's pregnant. But before we go on, let us go back to our choir. I so much enjoyed those little children in our choir that I want us to pass through them, just so that I have some little moment to breathe again before coming back with the weight of the discussion that we have at this moment. Let's take that little moment of respite. My brothers and sisters of the southern Cameroons, these children are harping on that message, The same message I've been singing here, the same message the international community has been transmitting to us, the same message those people who are sacrificing their lives on the ground. We listen to Arike, we listen to Commando, and they said the same thing. Work together. We listen to the very disturbing audio from the buffaloes of Bali. This tells us, my people of the southern Cameroons, that there is need for us to create that synergy which is necessary for us to move forward. Now, I know that a lot of us have been worried since somewhere in the early morning or on ground zero in the afternoon that WhatsApp, Facebook, and Instagram, I mean, we are unable to, have anything to do on those social media platforms. Listen, don't get worried. Don't get overworked. I'm sure their signals will return. They may even return before the day runs out or maybe in the days ahead. But for the time being, we have YouTube. If you don't have Signal yet, download Signal because I'm going to share the link of this communication on Signal. You don't have Telegram yet, download Telegram. I'm going to share the link of this communication on Telegram. We shall continue to communicate and we will get there, my people. If there are always alternatives that we shall hook onto. But this is also an opportunity for the people of the southern Cameroons to think of another alternative, to think of what we can do as a community to get an app that enables us to communicate among ourselves during these very difficult moments when we are still in the wilderness. We have to continue thinking our way out. The voices in the bushes and all those with them are thinking their ways out and they are doing serious things, they are inventing serious things to keep themselves safe. So we too, those people in the Southern Cameroons community who are IT gurus, this is a time for you to think for us. Remember, when we finally take Southern Cameroons, it has to be that country which will not generally be in the menu during international discussions, but will be an actor. Because on the international scene, there are only two kinds, or should I say persons, or two kinds of entities you will find. You have the actors, and you have those who will be in the menu. If you are not an actor, you'll be in the menu. Look at Cameroon today, and a lot of countries in Africa, they're all in the menu. But there are some satellite countries, some small countries in the world that rock the world, that shake the world. Look at Israel. We have to be that kind of country in the Gulf of Guinea. Our position is even strategic. So we have to be a strategic country. Now, I want to take this opportunity, first before I get to the real message, give me a few moments to talk about this call for ghost towns beginning in the morning. In the morning? Yes. Of October 5, right up to Friday, October 8. My people, in my last communication, I made clear that I had an exchange with Chris Anu. And eventually I had a message to coming from Comrade Choayaba when I was still about to contact him to talk about my exchange with Comrade Chris Anu regarding the policy we should take. I sent out an audio. It might not have reached a good lot of you. Listen, my people. When I look at the message from Comrade Cho Ayaba saying the people of the Southern Cameroons in the city of Bamenda, and in the city of Bamenda alone, should stay at home during these days. And then I look at the one from Comrade Cho Ayaba, from Comrade Chris Anu, the audio, which says the people of the city of Bamenda should go about their normal activities, but on a number of conditions. Condition number one, he says, if you are found anywhere close to any of the events to be organized by Mr. John Gute, you will be a target. Now look at this. Let's be clear about this. We saw John Gute in Bamenda the last time. He arrived in Bamenda, and because the people didn't come towards him, he rushed to the market. We saw him at Food Market. We saw him in Quen Market. We saw him everywhere. If you are pictured in a video or in whatsoever around that area, following the message from Comrade Chris Anu, what will happen to you? You become a target. You are seen as a black leg. But it may not be by any fault of yours, simply because you were ambushed. Again, The scouts who are all over the place can just move into the markets, move into the schools, move into any place there and cut you and direct you to wherever Mr. John Gute will be. You will be pictured. You'll be shown on CRTV. They'll even ask you to, cheer. You are there caught in the crossfire. I don't want any of our people to find themselves in trouble. We're peace-loving people. I'll always come here to talk about the things that should make us stay away from trouble. You see that immediately you're in trouble. The next thing he says is that if you leave Up Station, leave your house from this morning of October 5 until Friday, October 8 before you come back in. If you leave Up Station, how many thousand people will be involved here? He says if you live in the 1 kilometer radius from a Yaba hotel or any other hotel where Mr. John Gute's people will lodge. I know, traditionally they lodge at a Yaba hotel. They lodge at Azam Hotel. They lodge at Blue Pearl. These three hotels, look at where they are. You take 1 kilometer radius around Blue Pearl Hotel means that people around mile 3, mile 2, even getting towards mile 4 should have to leave their houses. Foncha Street should have to leave their houses. If you take the 1 kilometer radius from a Yaba Hotel, means the entire Meta Quarter, hospital roundabout, even people around the main market and even the food market should leave their houses. If you take Azam Hotel, you see that at Tuacom, Bali Park, Aziri Orchard Junction, even right to the hospital roundabout again, going towards our Mbengui Road, travelers should leave their houses. Here we are talking here of tens of thousands of people. You leave your houses and go to where? What place have we prepared for you? My people, I'm not raising this to attack any of the people. I'm just saying that looking at the nature of the messages, we come down to one conclusion. That it means stay home for your safety. It means don't go you out there. Just stay in your house. I know it is too much, but when we are faced with a situation like this one, my dear people of the Southern Cameroons, my dear people of Bamenda, we take the kind of measures that we need to take to stay safe. The most important thing is safety. The most important thing is safety. Like I said in my audio, I don't want to get up in the morning and hear that anything happened to anyone in the city of Bamenda where it ought not to happen. The simplest and easiest thing to do is lock your door, stay in your house. We have gone through a lot of this. We will always go through. But I know, without being told, that our people of Bamenda understand that from the moment that we ignited the struggle and agreed together to launch the first ghost town on January 9, 2017, the social contract between the consortium and the people of the Southern Cameroons has always been that anytime any of these colonial personalities are coming to our territory, we give them ghost towns. I think that is why the people of Bamenda, of their own volition, were already announcing to all and sundry, beginning Saturday, last Saturday, that from Tuesday to Friday will be ghost towns. It was a natural thing. We knew that when they were taking either Comrade Agbobala, Comrade Fontaine, and Comrade Mancho Bibixi, and all our people who were held captive, or who were held captive in Konengi, to the courts, we observe ghost towns. When Sisiko Ayuk Tabe, Pata Sang Barista Yambe, Pam Fongalanfo, and others were abducted in Nigeria and brought to Yaoundé, and each time they were heading to the courts, no one of us needed to announce. Nobody, no group needed to come out and make any announcement. Our people understood clearly it had to be ghost town, and they did organize themselves for the ghost towns. My plea, my people of the Southern Cameroons, is that we should go back to that era of discussions, of understanding, of communication to agree on these things. That's why the people started announcing it by themselves. So whether it is that Mr. Choayaba came and announced, or Mr. Christiano came and announced, I had called Mr. Christiano to remind him of this sacrosanct agreement between the people of the Southern Cameroons and the consortium from the start, the inception of this phase of this struggle, that we will stay home anytime any of those colonial handpicks of La République du Cameroon will come visiting pretentiously when they know exactly what is happening to our people, that the people will stay home. So these conflicting messages did not have to happen, but they have happened. My people, this is not about who is right and who is wrong. This is not about who is in control and who is not in control. This is about, number one, our safety. It's about, number two, keeping to our principles, continue to pursue our roadmap for our freedom. And number three, making sure that we find an opportunity to remind all those who continue to think that they can use ghost towns as an instrument of power. It doesn't have to be so. No. We can't subject our people to anything called ghost towns or lockdown just because we want to use that as an instrument of power. We will have to make sure all of these things are regulated. My people, that is why the last time I said I wouldn't take a clear-cut position, because I felt that is something we need to work on, and we still have to work on it. Stay home, stay safe. Not to the glory or to the honor of any group, but because that is the right thing to do. And so I want now to move on to the crux of the matter. We want us to have another transition just so that I drink some little water. Okay, we can still go back to our quiet children just for 30 seconds.
They say they are fighting for their future. They are fighting for the future of their lives. And I hope this future will be great. It will be great more than the way you expect, because God will give it to us. As you give your words outside to the United Nations, the United Kingdom, the UN Security Council, let them listen to the children.
You see, I love these children so much because they are singing from the depth of their innocence about the need for us to synergize and work together. Let me not expatiate. I'll keep enjoying them. These are young people. This is the future of the Southern Cameroons. These are the people we are fighting for. We may not be there to govern. We may not be there to enjoy the fruits of this freedom, but they will be there to witness the fact that we decided to end it in this generation. Now, to the crux of the matter. I want to go back to some of these clips, because there's one that we did not get to that shows a definition of the policy option taken by the United States of America, the strongest country in the world, regarding the situation in the Southern Cameroons. This country has decided that they will no longer be silent. Look here. Mr. Tibor Nagy, he is no longer Under Secretary for African Affairs at the US State Department, but he was there until this year. He says, Cameroon's Anglophone crisis is 5 years old, but the fundamental problem goes back to colonialism. Can't understand why France doesn't see its long-term interest in helping the Anglophone gain their rights rather than supporting Yaoundé's scorched earth policy, which can't win. I will not dwell so much on this because we talked about it in my communication yesterday. But what I want us to recall, because I'm bringing it so we should recall all of this and see how we are going. He was raising the problem again because he lived it firsthand. We know he has stopped in Paris a good number of times on his way to Africa to discuss with the French government regarding the situation in the Southern Cameroons and to persuade them to change their policy towards what is ongoing in the Southern Cameroons. This tweet is a recognition of the fact that the French remained adamant. This tweet is a recognition of the fact that the French are also determined that they will see La République du Cameroun through in their scorched earth policy against the people of the Southern Cameroons. This tweet is a clear indication that the world is not doubting who is causing all the trouble and the mishap in the Southern Cameroons. It's a clear indication that the rest of the world is not looking away. But because of agreements, because France is their ally, they needed to keep playing around, this whole thing in a kind of way until it gets to a certain time when you say, no, this thing is getting out of hands. We have to get out and talk before it goes off hands. Now, After his tweet came this other one. This is the U.S. Senate, and there's a Foreign Relations Committee. It says today marks 5 years, it was on October 1, of the Anglophone crisis in Cameroon. I encourage newly confirmed as Secretary of State of African Affairs FI to prioritize this issue per the recommendations of my bipartisan resolution, that's Senate Resolution 684, to end the violence and work towards an end to the conflict. Remember, I said in my last presentation, lay emphasis on the word conflict, because that's what matters here. It's not just a crisis is internal, but conflict beats, one entity, one clear entity against the other. And go back to that Senate Resolution 684. You see everything that is said inside there. The recommendation is that there should be an international mediation between La République du Cameroon and the people of the Southern Cameroons on the root cause. On the root cause. They talk of having a credible third party as mediator to sit in between La République du Cameroon and the people of the Southern Cameroons to discuss on the root cause. Which root cause is identified by Mr. Tibonagi? Colonialism. And so, this recommendation from the U.S. Senate Foreign Relations Committee to the newly confirmed Under Secretary of African Affairs to prioritize this issue indicates that the legislative arm of the U.S. government feels that henceforth there should be a clear-cut policy on the situation ongoing in the Southern Cameroons. It will no longer be a side issue. It will no longer be an appendix. It will no longer be just something that they just pass around and say, okay, among the many things that we have discussed, there is also no. It has to be a standalone item on the foreign policy options of the new Undersecretary of African Affairs. Did he answer? Yes. This is what we did not discuss yesterday. The new Undersecretary at the Bureau of African Affairs, FI, he says, replying to a Senate Foreign Affairs Committee, he says, I agree, and I am deeply concerned by the continued violence in the Anglophone region of Cameroon and look forward to working with Congress on this important issue. Wow. 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 Did anyone see? Mr. Tibonagi raised the issue, created and opened its dimension, identified the origins of this conflict. The Senate Foreign Affairs Committee comes onto it and says, we took a resolution. I recall that resolution, 684, was voted for by all 100 U.S. senators, meaning all Republican senators and all Democratic senators. Do you understand? This is a rarity. It was a unanimous vote, all 100 of them. And so, they now say, the legislative arm has now empowered the executive arm to act. And the executive arm says, I have decoded the message. That is why you see this response from the Bureau of African Affairs, where the newly confirmed Secretary of State says, I agree. I am deeply concerned by the continued violence in the Anglophone region of Cameroon and look forward to working with Congress on this important issue. Some people said in La République du Cameroon that there is no international traction to this matter. Some people said they have built a strong diplomatic firewall to make sure this issue doesn't become central to any superpower. But they failed to recognize that evil may seem to be overpowering virtue, but at the end, virtue always prevails. Falsehood may be around 3/4 of its journey around the world, while truth is still lacing its shoes. But when truth comes, it will overcome falsehood. That is where we are today. The United States of America is a country founded on the principles of freedom and the promotion of truth. We have seen it in display at all times, and we have seen how their institutions are tested year in, year out, and they resist and they stand. Because those ideas of freedom in the United States of America were the same ideas that influenced the people of France to initiate the revolution of 1789 that toppled the monarchy in France and eventually ended up with the establishment of a republic. The US ideas, the American ideas of freedom, helped the French. The American ideas of freedom are those same ideas that we should embrace to use in liberating the Southern Cameroons. But one thing we must learn is that this policy option will come to naught if they continue to see us as divided as we are today. This policy option will not take us anywhere if we allow the agents of La République du Cameroun that have infiltrated our midst, both citizens of La République du Cameroun and some misguided Southern Cameroonians, working very hard to keep us divided. If we allow them to continue to have the upper hand, we will not tap any benefits from this policy option. That is why I said earlier that there comes a time where we hit the hand on the table, where we stop being frightened by, some obscure voices that come and speak so loud and try to subdue us, by telling each and everyone that the time for us to sink those differences and build synergy is now. There comes a time where we must say, I'm tired of being, insulted and subdued, to stay silent when the people on the ground feel and are putting their everything and understand that the only way we can succeed is by working together, and some continue to feel that this is their time to fight for power. My people, I wanted to leave this until tomorrow, but I'm going to say it now. Look at this. The most expensive liquid in the world is a tear. It's 1% water and 99% filling. I shared this in my previous video. I'm sharing it again. Think of the tears we see our mothers shed every moment that their sons, their daughters, their babies are brutally taken out. Think of the tears that were poured in Gabu after what we saw there. Think of the tears that followed the disappearance of baby Mata. Think of the tears that followed the incident with the school children in Kumba. Think of the tears that followed the 30 crushed in Bali. Think of the tears that followed the 21 crushed in Bui. Think of the tears that followed the 12 crushed in Batibo because of our infighting. Think of the tears that followed those crushed in Pinyin. Think of the tears that followed those crushed in Muyuka. Think of the tears that followed those crushed across the entire Southern Cameroons because of our infighting. Think of these tears that flow. Think before you continue to hurt our people by fighting for power. Think before you continue to hurt our people by thinking that this is the time for you to show that I'm the only cock that crows. Think of these tears before you continue to tell our people that it is either your way or is a highway. Think of those tears before you continue to tell our people that either they recognize you as a bona fide leader of Southern Cameroon, so there'll be no peace. Think of these tears. Think of these tears before causing us to throw this golden opportunity again through the window. Listen, my people. Following these tweets, they're on the public space. La République du Cameroun right now will stop at nothing. I mean at nothing until they have used those internal agents to spew all sorts of horrible messages. Watch and see the number of audios you will hear following this particular broadcast. Watch and see the number of conspiracy theories that will be brought up against Bakuro following this particular broadcast. Because I say it is time for us to say enough of this division. We have to end it. There comes a time where we say enough of this division. We have to end it. We have to identify these agents and tell them, stop it now. Enough of this. My people, listen. We can do this, and we have to do it. Southern Cameroons has to be free. But Southern Cameroons will only be free if we begin by freeing ourselves of some stupid ideas. Let me make this clear. Listen, for those who do not know, right now, the biggest thing we should concentrate on is freeing the land. By the time the international community, as we are seeing in the beginning, to come in, pushes us until we get to discussions, to dialogue, to negotiations, international bodies will come in. Usually what happens in these circumstances is that the United Nations will come in. They will set up a transitional government, sometimes between 3 to 5 years. Comrade Kwanga had explained this before. Sometimes between 3 to 5 years, where they will govern, set up all the institutions of state, put in place an acceptable constitution, and get our representatives to examine and adopt. At the end of it all, they will organize the first free and fair elections to get the first government of the Southern Cameroons. None of our groupings out here, none. Nobody will leave for a diaspora state and go down there and become president or become minister of agriculture or become minister of this or minister of that. So why are we rocking the boat when we need, first of all, to get there and land? Then those who have political ambitions begin pursuing it. I am no longer afraid of all those insults. I have lived it for a long time. I'm no longer afraid of all those missives, of all those conspiracy theories. Those who say if whatever happens, Ashong Hombako responsible. Those who say Hombako is an agent of your... Most of you listening to me have known me long enough to have recognized that I have stood the test of time with all these conspiracy theories. They haven't broken me. You look at me, I'm not looking pale or thin or destroyed because of that. Because one thing I know, that truth is truth. Even if the teller of that truth is reduced to a minority of one. I said here before that anytime you settle for less than you deserve, you end up with less than you settle for. We must settle for nothing in this movement right now, short of total synergy. We must use all the means possible to get these hegemons fighting for power to sit down among themselves and understand that the people of the Southern Cameroons need freedom. This is not time to be intimidating us whatsoever. We want freedom. We need freedom, and freedom we will get. Make peace among yourselves. Be useful to the people of Ground Zero who are offering their lives. I heard my brother Arike. I shed a tear. I heard my brother Commando. I almost cried. I listened to these children in that choir, and I wouldn't have peace. This little video by this children in that choir is being requested in several quarters across the world because they too want to try to use it to galvanize us to understand the need to work together. Don't ask me, don't you talk to them? I have been talking to them, and I talk to you. I give you evidence. I talk to them. I do. For crying out loud. I call some, they don't even pick my calls. I want to call names here. But I keep calling. Even when they do programs for hours on end to call me names, I keep calling them. Because what is most important today and now is the freedom we are seeking. And my people understand this. We may not even all get there, but let us offer a free Southern Cameroons to posterity. I want to rest my case here because I'm getting emotional and I don't like to discuss these things when I'm emotional. I want to stay on this when I'm really still working just on reason, not from the heart, but still from the brain. My dear people of the Southern Cameroons, this is the message I brought tonight. Good tidings, a message of truth, a message of hope, a message of solace. But we have to work very hard. I mean, very, very, very hard. to deserve and welcome these open arms from the international community towards us. To God be all the glory.